Well, whether you like it or not, 2024 is here, and I am going to tell you my market predictions as it pertains to real estate agents, talk a little bit about where we've been and where we're going. Excited to dive into this one and get this new year started off with a bang. So stay tuned. What's up, guys? Jeremy Kane, Real Estate Agent Playbook, eXp Realty here, helping you win every single day at the game of real estate. I am super excited for 2024. I have some predictions. Take them for what you will. I do follow the market pretty intensely here in the Denver metro area and across the country. However, I am an agent and a normal person, but I'm going to give you my market predictions. So I hope that you have an amazing 2024. I hope you have your goals all set and ready to roll. And I hope that these market predictions will find you well. So let's get right into it and talk first and foremost about 2023. Everybody give me a thumbs up if they are excited that 2023 is over. Right there in the corner, you can hit that thumbs up. Give me a like on the video. Just to say goodbye 2023. And I'm going to tell you that 2023 was a little bit of a different market than I've had in my 10-year real estate career. But overall, it was a very good year for me. I was able to sit down and focus, spend a ton of quality time with my family, not because I didn't have business, but that was one of my focuses, is really to dive into that. But also had a very good year, sold, I think 32 homes, which is a little bit down for me. My volume was 18 million, so that went pretty well. But I also was able to add several agents to my downline, and now at the time of this recording, I'm at 70 agents, which is pretty amazing. They've been able to coach and help and train and all of that with those agents, walk through this ever-changing market. So a little bit of a shift in my business focus. I still look to sell about 30 to 40 homes a year, so I was right on with that. But 2023 was different, right? We had obviously the high interest rates for a long time that was affecting some of our market. We had the bank failures. We had, the promise of lowered interest rates, in quarter two and then quarter three and then not at all. And then in December, we kind of basically landed the plane right where we started as far as interest rates. And so it was kind of an up and down year, obviously, and mix in the Q4 commission lawsuits. And as agents, we've had a lot of noise going on. And so I think in 2024, a lot of that noise kind of chills out. I'm hoping that our market stabilizes a little bit, which will help us as agents stabilize our business. So some of the key factors from 2023 to consider is, transactions down 30 to 40% in most markets. Obviously the higher interest rates than we were used to during the COVID years. And so let's kind of launch from there, right? I want to see, this year, I want to say that we'll probably see transactions increase, probably 10 to 15%, I think, from this low point, which down 30 to 40 and up 10 to 15 will get us right probably into that sweet spot where we kind of hung out in the 2013 to 2019 segment that everybody likes to call, the norm as we relate and kind of remove those pandemic years. So that's the first thing. I think that prices will get a jump out of the gate as we've seen, lower than we're used to interest rates after last year come out of the gate. So I think that that's going to spur some buyer activity. I think loan applications will be up. I think January, February, March will be pretty hot in the market. But I think ultimately we're going to end about a 4% price appreciation, which is below average for Denver. I'm not buying the 5% Realtor.com, prediction for the Denver market because they said we'd be down 5% in pricing. I think ultimately, though, across the country, we'll probably see some seasonality come back, some real flow. In Denver, our seasonality, we usually have kind of an early spring. Come the time when school's out and things like that, people are going to the mountains, camping and doing all the things. And we kind of slow down and level off in the summer. And then once the kids go back to school, we, a little bit before the kids go back to school, we see a little spike and then kind of level off as we kind of land the plane, so to speak, at a little bit lower than breakneck speed in our market. So I think that that's going to be seasonal across the board. I think that other markets will start to dive into their own seasonalities. which obviously I can't speak to, but you should probably know those if you're in those markets. So that's kind of my ultimate prediction, for what's going on. There's a lot of things that we need to kind of keep the pulse of what's going on. Obviously, the commission lawsuits, the ever-changing, piece of our industry, what's going to happen to these buyer agent commissions. And I'm not saying that because I want you to focus on it and be scared, but ultimately, let's plan as if they're going to go away. And then once they don't, or something different happens, then you're ready to go with an extreme amount of value offered, right? I think it's the year of the value stack, as we see a lot of agents get out of the industry due to the decline in the market in 2023, or, fear from this lawsuit and that kind of stuff. As agents exit the market, all that says to me is there's market share available. And so I think that dialing in your value stack as we kind of, get this 2024 campaign started is absolutely what I see as something that agents will absolutely look back and be like, that's a game changer in my career. But really dialed in the value. What am I actually worth? What am I actually doing for my clients in order to be compensated? And all of those things. And don't just focus on the buyers. Do this for the sellers too, and elevate your game on that side so that if, in fact, the buyer agent commission does change and more agents kind of flood into that listing market, you're well ahead of them because your value stack is so far advanced that you're able to provide more value, and it's a no-brainer for a seller when they're choosing between agent A and agent B. The next thing I see as a prediction, kind of so to speak, as agents are concerned is, obviously the use of technology and lead sources. AI is going to be something that we need to pay attention, open your eyes, get the base knowledge, because you're already a little bit behind. But if you wait until, December of this year or maybe next year to embrace the AI technology, you're going to be way behind as AI is changing so frequently. So just make sure you have your head around it. You don't have to use it extensively in your business, but I think understanding what it is, I think that there are ways that everyone can incorporate AI that's more than just, writing listing descriptions and things like that. And so there was a huge push towards virtual assistants in the past years. And I think that, there's going to be, as the market tightens, people look to kind of cut spending and things, that's going to be an expense that may be able to be cut because of the AI and what AI capabilities are. So make sure that you're staying on the bandwagon of that. Make sure you're, on the cutting edge. You don't have to be, all in on it or use it every day. But I think paying attention to AI is something that we can absolutely do as agents and utilize it to your advantage, right? When you're building your value stack, when you're, coming up with marketing ideas, all of that, there are things that AI can help with that'll take some of the work off of your plate and absolutely level your game up. And so the next thing I want to say, obviously, as we have, navigated through 2022, 2023, the pandemic years, if you are an agent and you are not focused on your market and being the absolute knowledge of your market and being able to take that information back to your clients, back to the people you serve, you are doing a disservice because so much information travels so quickly that you're able to, take that. But with that said, it's not like all the information that we gather in and take in and our clients are taking in is accurate information or pertains to their specific hyper-local situation based on their home value or, their home purchase. And so I think it's important that you as an agent are focused on all of that information, taking it all in, kind of digesting it for your specific audience and putting that out there, right? The use of social media, it's been out there forever, right? You have to be on social media, you have to do this, you have to be on video. But I think knowing your market and bringing that to the table is absolutely key to your success moving forward, especially in this evolving market. I was talking to a lender last month, and he was talking about how he would go 6 weeks sometimes without talking about interest rates because they just weren't as dynamic. And they maybe changed here and there, but it wasn't a headline news every time they moved an eighth of a point. And so I think that that's important to understand. Make sure that you're soaking all that knowledge in and you're bringing it to the consumer in a way that makes sense to them, that they can digest, and is also relevant to them. Because, you take in these big numbers and Denver's, home prices are going to fall 5%. Well, it might happen in one market, maybe over the $5 million market it'll happen, but it's probably not going to happen in the first-time homebuyer market, as our economy is, speeding up, and we're constantly creating new jobs and people are constantly moving here. All of those things that come into fruition at that certain price point, maybe this, negates your buyer or seller from selling or buying, but the actual information in their price point is completely counter to what the headline says, because that's such a general statement that may not pertain to them. So knowing that stuff and being able to step in and be the voice of reason is absolutely the case. Obviously, there's no secret that being on social and being on video is the key. However, some people have kind of stalled out with their content creation because they just don't have anything else, right? They've gone through the contract, they've gone through the inspection pitfalls, they've gone through all of the things that are general, but we can always provide market insights and opinions, right? It's opinions as you go, and certainly, people love spreading their opinions around the internet and social media. So if you're able to educate yourself and give solid opinions, people really respect that. And in my production business on this, outside of this channel, people constantly are telling me about how much they can tell that I know the market. And sometimes I hear clients say, well, Jeremy, I don't need to really follow the market because I can plug into you. I know you're doing the work for me. And that, as an agent, is a value piece that I provide. So they're not sifting through, wasting their valuable time trying to figure out what pertains to them, what doesn't, and so on. So I think that that's kind of the big takeaway, is just adding value to your clients and your consumers. And if you're an agent, that involves a ton of education, soaking it all in, understanding AI, understanding how to use marketing tools, understanding the market, understanding how it pertains to these people. And, even saying, okay, this is what I think is going to come. Certainly, don't promise them the world and give them nothing. But at the end of the day, I think knowing that market and knowing the value, especially in our ever-changing market, in an election cycle, which who knows, things could get crazy. But that's kind of ultimately my best advice to any agent, is really dial in that client experience, really dial in that value, and utilize the tools that are afforded to you by your brokerage, by AI, whatever, to do that. And with that said, I'm going to be doing a free webinar at the end of January to help you dive into your sphere of influence and how I am expanding that out to you guys for absolutely free. The webinar will go through a lot of my tactics. A lot of them I've covered here on YouTube, but I'm going to package them together in a short webinar, less than an hour, so that you have things that you can implement into your business so that you can absolutely move your business forward. And if that means, here's the deal, as the market contracts, your friend who may have known 7 agents might know 2. And so if you're leveraging that sphere, and maybe, you had so many friends in it and you guys all agree just, to kind of let it be in the sphere, which I don't think anybody has ever said, okay, yeah, we'll just not do anything. But if that's the case, there may be opportunity for you to take market share within that sphere of influence. And that's exactly what I love to do. And that's how I built my business, even in the ultra competitive times. So I think now, as agents exit the business, as people get more and more hyper focused on the information that's out there, they're going to be looking for the person that's going to provide them as much value, as much as, not just raising their hand and whoever's at happy hour with them gets the job. So I think that that's a super important piece. That webinar is going to be ultra valuable. If you would like access to that before I release it to the public, please comment webinar in the comments, and I will make sure that you get emailed that link right when it goes live, before I even push it out to anything else or the funnels there. So hope to see you there. I think that 2024 is going to be a great year. I think that if you can outwork your competition, I think there's big gains to be made as a real estate agent in 2024, no matter what your market is. And if I can help you in any way, please reach out. You can book a call, realtor game plan call, doesn't matter what brokerage, where you're at, what state, anything. We can talk business. Essentially, it's just a one-on-one conversation with me and you to help you build that. So I hope you guys got something from this one. I hope those predictions come true because they're all fairly positive, and we'll see you on the next one. Like, comment, subscribe. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you so much, and share this with your favorite real estate agent. Bye-bye.